Hello, you're welcome to another discussion on the fallout of the United States election and of course the implication on democracy all over the world. We started the discussion last week and we thought it wise to bring it forward to this week so that we can go contemporary on the implication or the effect, of course, the success that it will bring to democracy all over the world. I have my guest in the studio again this week. Professor Christian Ikeobi is of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Funa. Prof, you are welcome once again.
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Moderator. Thank you.
I also have another political scientist in the studio. He's an erudite scholar, and of course, a good writer. He's an author. Mr. Liko Oketuko, you are welcome this week again.
My pleasure.
Professor Ikeobi, let's go contemporary. The election was conducted, the winner emerged, and the next thing is for Joe Biden to be sworn in and, of course, swing into action. What are the areas of benefits that you think this democracy will radiate into other or oscillate into other countries of the world? Because so many people invariably were part of the election all over the world. Though some of us did not participate in the election, but we monitor it religiously and seriously so that, because everybody, of course, had interest in one person or the other. So what should be the benefits, or what are the expected benefits to all countries of the world?
Thank you very much. Let me say that one of the expected benefits is in the area of the policies of the party or the victorious candidate, Joe Biden. The other person that he contested with, Donald Trump, had this policy of America first. And you find out that throughout the time he was in office, he was always raising issues with America's allies in the various multilateral agencies and bodies like NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, like WHO, and he withdrew America from the climate agreement, from Paris climate deal.
Yes.
I also had to repudiate the trade agreement with his very close neighbors, Canada and Mexico, and fashioned a new one. I found that his policies had always been, America first. So this person, this new one that is coming in now, Joe Biden, believes in the fact that America should spread out its arms to the whole world. America should relate, should not forget its friends. Friends like NATO, friends like WHO, United Nations, and all these other bodies. So you find out that is one area that's going to be noticeable benefits between what happened in the last 4 years and what's going to happen in the next 4 years. That people all over the world, especially with respect to the roles of these agencies, talk about NATO, talk about the military pact between America and its allies for the security of his allies in Europe is one thing that needs to be sustained, that Biden is going to sustain America's role in NATO. Biden also has said he's going to sustain America's contributions and role in the World Health Organization.
Sir, before I ask this question, let me just bring out a question from what he said, and that is the cliché, America first. It is not Trump that started this America first, but he actually emphasized so much on it. Don't you think this cliché, America first, should be adopted by other countries of the world to say our country first? Don't you think this brings development to that country than elsewhere?
Well, the truth about the America first thing is that no American president has put America's interests last, as it were, or in jeopardy. The cornerstone of America's foreign policy has always been to project the American political machine, American might. And so, Donald Trump was just saying the obvious when he came out with that popular saying, America first, America first. It's not as if other presidents that we have had put America's interest aside. in pursuing some of their policies. And no country, anyway, every country tries to project its own image. Every country tries to emphasize the primacy of its own political survival and things like that. So every country has always had that. It's not a new thing. When you deal with neighbors, there's something we call national interest. When you relate with other countries. And national interest...
Like bilateral relationship.
Yes. And that national interest will always take cognizance of the domestic factors, the historical aspect of your country and things like that. And these are the things that shape the foreign policy of nations. So for Trump to be saying that, he's just saying the obvious and nothing so spectacular. It's only that when it becomes a popular, say, a cliche, it resonates with the average American. And that's why they went, many people who voted for him sided with him.
Thank you very much. You're watching Your Image, and you're still talking about the fallout of the American election on democracy all over the world. And we are going contemporary. What are the implications of the election on other countries of the world? What are the lessons to be learned from this election? And what will be the benefit of other nations of the world from the American election? I still have my guest, Professor Christian Ikobe, is very much with me, and Mr. Lekan Okechukwu. Prof, let me come back to you, sir. Trump is seen to be a racist as a president, and that is why many countries of the world did not really align with him. And a typical example of this was the election that happened as far as the WTA is concerned. That's the World Trade Organization, where a Nigerian, a distinguished professor, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, contested and won. When he won the election, America still tried to, buttonhole that particular election. Don't you think this is one of the reasons why Trump lost that election?
Well, the truth of it is that there are a lot of issues that played in that election. And I also believe that the black community, the black American, the African American community in U.S. also decided to go for Biden from a majority perspective. I think they gave him 81% of their votes. So there are a lot of issues. When you talk about the Black Lives Matter protest that took place in U.S. in the course of the year, and what happened, the fact that many blacks have been in the receiving end of police brutality and all that. So when it came to, and Trump, some of these things that happened within his tenure, he didn't really do what he was expected to do as the president of the nation. He didn't really come out, specifically to condemn what happened to George Floyd in America and what happened to other blacks, Ahmaud and all that. And several people that, Breonna Taylor, and these people that, suffered from man's inhumanity to man, they lost their lives. The president of America is supposed to be the president of all Americans, irrespective of race, irrespective of the community. When you talk about, my colleague talked about the religious community, the Muslim community. When you talk about the women political base, you talk about the African American community, you talk about the Asian American community. These are the things that Joseph Biden decided to, he came up with his vice presidential running mate, who is known to be her father was from Jamaica, a black from ancestral ancestral home and all that, and then also her mother was from India, and Biden played, assessed the situation critically. So as a white American, his running mate is an African American, and therefore satisfying that political base of African Americans, satisfying the Asian American base for this lady whose mother came from India. So at the end of the day, they felt that Biden presented a much more acceptable, or what you can call a father figure that will rally all these various sections
Mr. Okedekun, I want us to, for the sake of those who are watching us, because this is an image thing, it's an image program, and what we are talking about boils down to image.
Yeah.
What is this in all this democracy? They talk about democracy and the Republican. People see a Republican as being revolutionary. As a political scientist, help us to demystify something about it. They say, okay, Democrat is a Democrat, whether you like it or not. And a Republican, we have a lot of political parties, we have the Labour and many of them. But when it comes to election, people love to go for a Democrat. What do you think is the secret behind this? What is in a Republican that people try to fidget about?
Well, the truth of the matter is that the American political system is based on a two-party system. And it doesn't mean that there are no other small parties. And then you have the independents. But in America, the two major parties are the Republicans and the both express strong views about democracy. Both present democratic credentials. It's just a little to the right, a little to the left. Yes. It's like the two parties like 6 and half a dozen. You can't really distinguish. They both espouse principles of capitalism. Both have shared values in the survival of capitalism. Both have shared values in projecting the American image. But when you look at the Democrats and the Republicans in America, and you look at the composition, in the Democratic Party, for example, you have a rich mix of the different ethnic groups. You see more of blacks in Democratic Party. You see more of Asians in Democratic Party. I don't know whether it is because the Democratic Party accommodates those people and their views and whatever. But the Republican Party, it seems to be a more elitist, in quote, when it comes to its membership. You have very powerful people in America, very rich, from rich white families who are dominant in, and these are the movers and shakers. When you talk about the military-industrial complex in America, the Republican Party is made up of a lot of people from within that environment, within that complex. But by and large, when you talk about Republican and Democratic Party in America, they are both, like as I've said, like 6 and half a dozen. You can hardly distinguish because they are a rich mix of both radicals, liberals, moderates, and whatever. You have them in equal dimension, in equal measures, for example, in both parties. It doesn't mean whether they are Democrats or Republicans. It's just a nomenclature that distinguishes that this one believes in the Republican values and this one believes in...
Thus they are a little bit different in philosophy.
Yes, yes. The manifestos are the same. They both espouse virtually the same thing and project the same thing about America. Just that when they come into office, their policies, there are slight changes, little changes here and there.
You're watching Your Image. I'm sure you are finding it very interesting. United States election. Of course, what are the lessons to be learned? What are the effects? And what do we stand to benefit, as a nation? And probably let me come back to Nigeria. Let's come back to the home state.
Yeah.
We practice democracy. Let's juxtapose between the two. Democracy in Nigeria and democracy as we see it in the US. And that is, of course, like I said, the cradle of democracy.
Let me say this, that I want to say that as a person, I have a full confidence in the institutions in America and what is happening presently in terms of disputing, contesting the results of the election. We play out with time. It will play out with time. And one thing that we can learn from Nigeria, from Africa, about what is happening in America presently is that people have not gone, maybe taken to the streets to kill people, to slaughter people, or to slaughter their opponents and all that, you know, things over time will, of course, there are inflamed emotions and passions and all that. Those that lost are not happy that their man lost, and those that their man won, they are happy and they are celebrating. But in terms of allowing the system to go on and peace to reign in the community, the society, they are going on with their lives. This is one lesson we need to learn. And let me also say this, the courts in America, they exist to resolve issues about political contentions about electoral results. And I have no doubt that they will resolve this one that is on now. And if you observe also, even before the elections, okay, about the issue of mailing ballots and all that, there were issues. There were some of these projected plans were contested in law courts, and the courts made their pronouncement about how the elections would go, and the elections exactly went that way. And that's why I believe that the courts, yes, will make their pronouncements about the acceptability or otherwise of the results, you know, and I have confidence in the system there. And the citizens of America, they have confidence in their political institutions. So we need to nurture our political institutions in Africa to the extent where people are able to play their roles. You know, play their roles. If you miss it, you go in for it. The system has a way of punishing people that go, you know, against the laid down rules in terms of how elections should be run. And that is one thing we need to learn in Africa about allowing, you know, having full confidence in our system, putting the right individuals in positions of responsibilities to oversee an election. And they're able to do it very well, to the best of their ability.
Before you enumerate some of the lessons to be learned, I want to be practical. Most of our contestants in Nigeria, to be specific, maybe governorship aspirants and all of them, I'm sorry, the way even their electionary campaign is not too witty. Maybe it's light. Content seems not to be there. Can they learn from that? Because when you see their electionary campaign, the manifesto, extemporaneous speech, and you know that they are really ready for this job. But come here, the right, even to render it becomes a problem. Don't you think we need to start from there, learning from there, from the top down to the electorate?
Well, there's no doubt that when it comes to issue of electioneering campaigns in Nigeria, vis-a-vis what obtains in America, we have a lot to learn from them. You can see the level of organization in America. You can see the kind of technology that is deployed to their electioneering campaigns, and the issues that are canvassed for. In this election in America, for example, one of the major issues that was canvassed was the issue of that coronavirus, handling of the coronavirus. And whether you like it or not, ultimately it went a long way in a swing victory for Joe Biden, because a lot of Americans believe that President Trump did not handle the pandemic issue very well. He was never seen to wear a mask. He was never seen to, he was even encouraging his supporters not to wear a mask. And everywhere he went, even against the advice of professionals, health professionals, he was always doing his own thing. And that contributed a lot to escalate the situation of the pandemic in America. So when it comes to our campaigns in Nigeria, we have a lot to learn, no doubt about it. And again, there were no godfathers in the election in America.
No godfather.
No, there were no godfathers.
Nobody to report to.
Nobody to direct you to say, of course you have some backers, but their influence
not visible,
not as pronounced as you usually have in Nigeria, when you say you have godfathers who will breathe down your neck and dictate what happens within the political system. So all these are lessons that we can learn. Then again, when it comes to those lessons, Prof has said a lot about it, but much more importantly, the influence of money was not pronounced.
Did it even exist?
What I'm trying to say, you need money to run elections, but there were no vote buying as it used to be in Nigeria, and because of that, we have a lot to learn from the American political system. The American political systems is one that emphasizes service delivery. And if you are going into office to serve, why would you be spraying money on electorate? So something is definitely wrong with our kind of, maybe the level of poverty. People in government need to address the level of poverty in Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you very much. A very quick one, Prof. The media is a major factor in an election, and it's said to be the fourth estate of the realm. Do you think the media also contributed to Trump's loss in that election because of the way he treated the media at every forum?
Yes, there are a lot of issues that contributed, or factors that contributed. You know, if we are to sit here, I personally know that a lot of factors, like my colleague said, about the way he handled COVID-19 outbreak, about the way he was treating the Muslim community. He banned travel, travel of people from some Muslim countries. There are Muslims in America. You know, there are a lot of issues that, you know, and then let me also talk about the way he handled his family. Trump actually made this, his 4 years in office, everything was about his family. His daughter, you know, special advisor, his son-in-law, special advisor, his, and the people are asked, in fact, at a point, it was even rumored that in 2016, he wanted to make his daughter to be his vice presidential running mate. So the media had a lot of roles to play. One thing about American media is that they would dig out whatever needs to be dug out.
Professionally.
If there is any skeleton in the cupboard, they will dig it out. If there are things that happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they will dig it out.
Okay, Prof, because of time.
The media contributed greatly to what happened in America, and they are still contributing.
Briefly, what is your advice to Nigerian politicians? Briefly, in few words.
My advice to Nigerian politicians is that they should be people-oriented. People-oriented, service-oriented, like my friend talked, issues-oriented, you know, not money-oriented. Tell us what you're going to do, and when you get there, make sure you fulfill your promises.
Thank you very much.
The people will love you for that.
Thank you very much. A quick one from Mr. Leka Oketeko to Nigerian politicians, to the electorate generally, in few words.
Well, the Prof has said everything. Politics is all about service. If you want to contest elections, make sure you are ready to serve. You are not there to be a selfish person. You are only going there to serve, and the service should be your watchword. To the electorate, I think it's time we take our destiny in our hands. We should not just sell our destiny on the pot of porridge or something like that. We should know that governance is a serious business, and the people you elect to go into the various offices are there to advance your cause. So if you elect people who are not people of integrity, the system will suffer for it. Nigeria will suffer for it.
Thank you very much. Let's play the game. As expected, politics, democracy is the springboard of every development, and let's learn from that election in America so that Nigeria can be great and continue to be great and continue to be great again. Thank you very much for your attention. Until we'll meet next week, let me thank Professor Christian Ike-Obi from the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, FUNAB. Thank you so much for being part of this good discussion. Thank you very much. And Mr. Leka Oketeko, thank you very much. Your, of course, submissions are very, very good
My
ones.
pleasure.
Thank you very much. Until we meet next week, let's continue to protect our democracy. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. See you next week.